At what age do you really think that you were thinking about this, though? Was it? I mean, it sounds like later in life that you guys really decided to pick this up, which is kind of unusual.
Yeah, it's extremely unusual, and get ready for this because I sang my whole life basically, but I sang mostly in the car. I did a little bit of church singing when I was younger, so I actually didn't do a whole lot musically until I was about 35. And I'm 41 now, so really only the past 6 years we kind of just got into the zone, and just started writing and started making music and started learning and wanted to grow and built on top of it, So no, but not until 35 for me, and she was 22. So.
Yeah, it was about 6 years ago. But whenever we first started, I think I didn't realize how much there was kind of letting go. Why not do it? I think when we were younger, at least when I was younger, I had a lot of reasons not to do it. You don't sound as good ever, in the car as you do listening to the people that have been professionally recorded and mixed and mastered and everything. And when you start to realize some of how that goes together, after we had that, why not moment, it all becomes possible.
Where did you guys grow up?
I grew up in a little town a couple hours south of St. Louis. Benton and New Hamburg are the two small farming communities. Most of the influences I had in music just came from the radio. A few local stations, not as much as we have access to now, for sure.
Nice.
And I grew up my dad was in the military, so I actually was born in Wyoming, and then we moved to Iceland and North Dakota, and we're all over. But I spent most of my youth in New Orleans, and that's kind of where I call, the where I grew up is always New Orleans.
Is that where you got most of your musical? I mean, what did your parents do? Were they artists as well?
No, actually, my dad was a rehabilitational guy. He helped veterans get through college and stuff like that. And my mom was a data entry operator. So, but my mom sang. She's always sung her whole life. So, I think that's where I got a lot of the musical stuff is from that.
And my family, my dad and a few of his brothers own a timber company, so they're lumberjacks.
Tough dudes.
Yeah. And then my mom was a medical secretary, and then also worked at one of the big home improvement stores. They both worked 6 or 7 days a week, so having a full-time job and doing music all the time just kind of seems normal. We were always working, always doing something.
Being, Ben, that you were in New Orleans a lot, did you get a lot of that? Is that where you got your your love for music? Is that how you started with it, or how did that come about for you?
Sure. Yeah, I think I had a propensity towards music, and I would have been into music anywhere. But in a town like New Orleans, there's just music everywhere. I mean, that's the only place that there's actual music in the streets. So. There's a lot of times that the parades and the Mardi Gras, in the neighborhoods, that stuff was all pretty influential. It's tough to say, really, but New Orleans kind of soaks into your soul if you spend too much time there. So, you can't help but like funky and fun music. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. And people would be surprised to know, I'm sure, that that St. Louis has its own music scene as well. There's a little spot over the bridge that I remember having gone there, where there's a nice little row of bars and music, and
Right.
I don't know if that where it got started, but I'm sure downtown has a lot of that too. But
Yeah, it's funny because St. Louis has pockets of strips, so this will be a scene over in this area, and then there'll be a scene in South, in the South area, and there's another one by the college, spot. So they all kind of, they have their own little spot. So it's kind of cool because if you're up for Latin dancing, you can go to this area. And if you're up for, like some, hardcore reggae, you can go to a different spot, so it's kind of cool to have such a variety here, and then they each have their own little scene. So it's pretty cool.
So how did you two meet?
We met through work and love of music, just after hanging out together and listening to some of the same bands and introducing each other to new bands. Really singing together, I guess, was what pulled us together after we met.
We sang together in the car when we didn't even know we were doing it. So it kind of just happened. And it's rare to find somebody that you can harmonize and sing with. And we just fell right into it. We didn't even have to try.
I want love to walk right up and bite me, grab a hold of me and fight me, leave me dying on the ground. I want love to split my mouth wide open and cover up my ears and never let me hear a sound.
That was a big part of, how we bonded a lot, was just singing along together. But we both work in the same industry too. We both make eyeglasses.
Yeah, factory workers by day.
Nice. So who would you say was the most influential person in your artistry life that got you really going in being an artist?
That's tough. If anything, I think we got each other really interested in music. I kind of had gotten out of my previous marriage, and then kind of started to get into music because I had been busy a lot earlier. So I started to get into music, and she encouraged me a lot. She actually told me that I was a lot better off when I did go play music, because then I was a little less grumpy. So it worked out pretty good, And hers doing that, and then me working, doing a little more in music, and then she got interested in playing around singing, and then she was like, maybe I'll pick up the bass, So it kind of, it seems like we kind of spur each other on.
I would definitely say Ben is the most influential as far as music goes. I had kind of also moved away from singing and a lot of musicality, and when we started hanging out together, the amount of singing that we did and the vocal harmonies that we have together just felt right. But yeah, they came naturally. We didn't really have to think about it. And the bass I didn't really just pick up. I think he wanted to focus more on singing and vocals, and I was looking for a way to put down the bass, and I picked it up and fell in love with it. So.
It's funny how inspiration inspires more. It kind of like exponentially grows, One person gets inspired by another person, and then, especially if they spend time together, it's nice to be able to back and forth inspire each other, and surprise each other. It's actually, it's the coolest thing I've ever done.
That's awesome. You both you have a day job. You both have walked different paths in your lives. So I'm kind of curious, when you met and you discovered this love of music for one another, was it right away that you guys started encouraging each other, or was it just as you got to know each other and over time you started to make that happen? Because it sounds like you guys were all on your way to different lives.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I was in a program to go into dental hygiene school, and that didn't work out, and that was a blessing in disguise. We also had a lot of friends that we hung out with that were in music. There were a couple of our friends that we worked with that performed, and Ben started out performing with them as like a guest performer. And it was kind of that same thing you were talking about. I would just see him light up and be so happy and so in the moment that I definitely encouraged more of that. And, you know, if he was going to do it, I want to go along. I want to do it too. So that's, I think, when it started to spiral upwards into inspiring each other.
So in your, Ben, you mentioned that you did some singing and stuff in your early days and as a child and such like that. Do you look back on that and draw from anything from that time period or that experience that helps you now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd like to, you know, I mean, I've always been enthusiastic about music, even if I wasn't making it. I always reveled in, you know, new, different sounds and things that I didn't know before. And, you know, kind of like some guys are about sports and, you know, cars. I'm kind of that way about music. I'm always like, did you know that this guy had, you know, whatever it is. But I've always had a real deep interest in music. And I think having listened to so much music and sang along to so much music and tried to sing, you know, I would sing not just the lead part, but I'd learn the harmony parts too and sing all those parts. And, you know, I always tried to dig deeper into the music rather than just kind of listening to the surface. And I think that helped a lot whenever we did start making music, was to be able to have a good understanding of what I wanted out of the music. Had I started younger, more than likely it wouldn't have, it probably would have been driven by different motives, you know. Now I have the freedom to just do whatever I want because I have a normal job and I can just, you know, I'm happy where I'm at, you know, so I can just make music to make music because it's fun.
It's kind of, I mean, it's so fascinating because of the way that you guys started and you know, later in life and you're kind of just doing it on your own and just going for it. You know, I mean, there's no like classical training behind it or anything. You just kind of have this gift that you guys are sharing now. And so I'm kind of interested in how you guys got to where you are now in the terms of shaping that. Did you guys just feel like you had this natural ability? Did you take some classes? Did you work on something? How did you get to where you are now?
We have a library of books that Ben read. He did a lot of audiobooks and a lot of, I think basically they're textbooks on mixing and mastering and recording and more different subjects than I could probably count. Was
that the big obstacle? Was the recording aspect of it?
Some of it, yeah. You know, there was a lot of, I kind of, I never read much when I was younger, but all of a sudden when I started getting interested in music, I would pick up any book that I could find on how to make music, because I wanted to know like how to make it as good as possible from home. You know, like what can I make in my garage that sounds as close as possible to, you know, something that you would hear in the real world, you know.
Right.
So, you know, that was really the goal. So I started reading, and we did a lot of research, and I still read a few books a month, just trying to keep up with different, you know, different things. Even if it's just working on language stuff to write better lyrics, we're constantly working on something and studying. And so if we basically put ourselves through school, we say we're students of YouTube University. You can learn enough if you gather enough information. If you only watch one video, you may be misled, but you know, you watch enough of them, you find the law of averages. So, you know, we watch a lot of videos.
If you weren't a musician, do you think you would have found it? If you weren't a musician right now, do you think you would have found it eventually, or do you think that you just happened to find the right time at the right place and just the two of you just decided that this was the moment?
I think I probably would have found music again no matter what. I don't know that I would have been as creative. I think I probably would have been maybe a singer in a local choir or adult chorus. But yeah, I don't think without Ben pushing me and showing me that you really can make your own music, I probably wouldn't even have tried. I would have just sung along.
I always wanted to do it, and I always thought, what if? And I think when I was younger, I thought that it has to be a career. It has to be the main source of income. And then I had a hard time wrapping my head around how to actually make money in music, especially then. But I realized that I can do both. I basically put as much enthusiasm into it as a model train enthusiast, or there's people who have tons of hobbies and they spend tons of time doing it, and it's just what we do for fun, because we enjoy it. It was always there, and I would have been a rock star in my own car if I wouldn't have been either. It's fine, and I would have been fine with that.
You mentioned it earlier about which role you play in the band, but how did you guys discover that? Was it just, did you guys play around with it? Did you guys switch roles from time to time? Do you switch roles now to kind of, do certain things for certain songs? Or is it that you have these defined roles and they work and that's what you're sticking with?
I was able to pick up the bass partially because one of the people that lives in the same building we do is a bass player and has played for decades. And so I basically had a free teacher here. And then I have to give credit to Rocksmith.
The Xbox game.
The Xbox game, Rocksmith.
The word is real. You can learn how to play an instrument on the Xbox.
I have spent so many hours, but there are so many songs that I've learned, and it's nice to be able to do it by yourself and have the corrections from the game. And it's a game, so it makes it fun. You get a score.
It gives you instant feedback too as to whether or not you're playing the right notes and the rest of that. Yeah, to answer your question from my end, I think we're still winging it. We're still trying to figure it all out, and we kind of go with what feels best and what the song needs. And we kind of just follow that rule of whatever the song feels like it needs is what we're going to do. So like the March release, Everything Between had a different bass player on it,
right.
But that funky song that's it needed that bass line,
right?
And the guy who played that is one of our huge collaborators. There's a couple other people that really help us do this, and we get together, weekly and spend a few hours writing and making decisions on, whether this sounds okay and the rest of that too. So we're always trying to change things to find different ways to write new music, so sometimes we'll start with like a riff or something like that. And other times we'll start with an idea, like I want to make a song that's kind of like that song, and then try to build something that's similar to it. Doesn't always come out, but it's always fun to try.
Talk about the dedication it takes to do something just as what you're doing right now. How much time do you really spend in your day doing this? Do you have a day job? So I'm imagining that's like an 8-hour job. So on top of that, how much more do you spend working on the music and playing around and doing that?
All but an hour.
Right.
1 hour a day. I watch TV and that's it. No, pretty much. We were always working on it. Even if we're not really working on it, we don't think we're working on it. We're listening to a mix, or we're talking about this part of the other thing. So we're always working on it. Honestly, if our eyes are open, we're probably working on it.
And do you think? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say Ben gets up and starts working on press releases, or on again listening to a new mix, or going on Fiverr and listening to different artists to find the next person that we're going to have do maybe an organ part, or there's always something. I would say it's at least 2 to 6 hours a day.
So how does the writing process work for you guys? Do you start with a riff? Do you start with a lyric? Is there a combo that happens? It just happens organically? Where would you say the writing process is for you guys right now?
It seems like we're still learning so much that every song is an adventure. And when we get to the end, we're just like, wow, we did that. That's pretty neat. We finished that, So I'd love to tell you that I have a real system, and we have lots of riffs. We have lots of beginnings of songs. I probably have 10 seconds of, 40 different songs, but without a melody, without some vocal bit to go on top of it or something to make it distinguish from other things, it gives it meaning and character. It's not really anything. So I think most of it starts with something like that. But a lot of the stuff comes from jams. Yeah, we'll get together with like the drummer guy, which is the other one, Danny Pica, and the other guy is Tony B.
Ashford, right?
But in any case, we'll get together and we'll just jam for an hour or two and just kind of like see what we can come up with, And sometimes we'll get stuck on something and start to build on it and go, well, we got a riff, so we're gonna need a part 2 and build it from there. And then it's just this constant polishing of the furniture, I always like to relate it to somebody that's finishing wood. They're sanding for feels like years. I hate sanding. That's why I don't work with wood much. And you sand so much and you polish it. It takes forever to get to that ending bit. But once you build it, it's together. So once we have the structure in place, then we build on top of that, and we're able to make all the cuts and all this needs this and this needs that. To kind of spit out ideas. So the whole thing's creative. The whole thing is just who knows what'll happen.
Usually the jams, I think, will start with a drum track, or not a drum track, but a beat on the drum. And then a lot of times we'll start with the bass. I'll find something that feels like it meets the groove. And then Ben will do just some vocal kind of melodies. And there'll be a point when you can kind of feel everything lock in. There's a lot of times it doesn't, but when it does, we all pretty much feel it.
It's like magic, It's just it's like magic. I mean, it's not like we're making, magical things, but it feels amazing when you get into a zone and that you're creating something that could be something, not just literally making noise. There's times that, I've had way more jam times that were terrible than the ones that are amazing, but the ones that are amazing are so amazing that it makes you want to try for that. You really want to hone in on that focused time and moment when you're starting to really come up with something.
I want to ask him this question because I think Ben would tell me, but I really am curious from Kim's perspective. Mm-hmm. Have you, because you guys are so into trying to figure out how to do this and be, musicians, and you spend so much time learning, what rabbit hole has Ben gone down that you had to pull him out of that was so deep that
I think
pick one? Just one?
I think probably the one that really took the most time that we didn't see as much benefit from was the mixing. There is so many minute things, and you can mix and mix until you just are running around in circles. It's like the rabbit hole is never ending. And I think that's where some of the outsourcing has really freed us up to be more creative. And that rabbit hole is kind of gone to the wayside now. We do rough mixes, do the basic tracks, and send those off to be polished.
Yeah, we have a mixer now. And I suffered some hearing loss at one point. So, I'm not able to mix very well anymore. I can't really hear a lot of the stuff that I need to hear. So, it actually is better that I do have the hearing loss, because then otherwise I would be running around in circles all the time trying to figure out what I'm doing.
So talk about the recording process a little bit. What is something that you guys came across in the recording process that you didn't know going in that you now apply to everything you're doing?
I would say, I don't know if it's part of the recording process, but definitely listening to your mix on many different speakers, not just, the nice speakers that you have in the studio that you can hear every little thing, but a lot of music is played on just your basic cell phone. And my bass doesn't really come through on those tiny little speakers. So yeah, I think we're going now from boom boxes from the 80s and computer monitor speakers and
home stereos, and try to listen to it in a lot of different settings, car and all that stuff. Now that everything's on the internet, I can carry my phone and pretty much connect to everything. So it makes it really easy to be able to test it on different things. Mm-hmm. That, and we have other people that do, both Danny and Tony B spend whenever we're mixing a song, there's emails back and forth. We're constantly, this needs to be a little bit more this, and this is maybe a little more this, and what do you think about this? And so it goes through a lot of ears before it gets released. But the original EP, I'm pretty sure I was running to the last second that I could run in order to get it out by my self-imposed deadline.
Right.
And we wish it were a little better. We wish it were recorded a little better. But you got to start somewhere, and we were proud that we put anything out, that we were able to write one song, let alone a couple to constitute a whole EP.
Tell me why you're crying, girl. It's gonna be okay. Sometimes, yeah, we fight, but we make up every time. Never let the sun go down. Yeah, sometimes we fight, but we make up every time. Never let the sun go down. You know that I love you, babe. Do anything for you, babe. Give you my love, my life, and everything between. I'll take more on my plate, almost grown up man. On my own, I can't wait for a cause-full plan. Growing up and getting stronger. Moving on and moving upwards. Your eyes, you're my sunlight. When I'm with you, something else our two hearts beat a single song. In my life, nothing but the bluest skies, and you make me so want to rise. You're my sunlight.
What was the first song you ever created, and how has it shaped every song you've done since then?
Maria was number one. That was,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Maria was the first one, and that happened to be the first one we released too. Yeah, believe it or not, Maria was based. The original guitar was just during a jam session, and I had the guy who came over. We were just hanging out, just goofing off, just having a good time. And he played this amazing guitar piece that I sang on top of, but I had his direct in from the guitar, so I was able to separate it, and then we built a whole song on what we played during that. So the acoustic guitar is the original, just loose Friday night jam, and everything else we built on top of that. And that was a lot of fun to be able to try to build a song off of a guitar that had the limitations, because there wasn't any, you can't cut and paste some of that guitar. The way he played it was really, it was elaborate, so you can't really chop it up at all. So it was a challenge to try to write something into what he had already played, and knowing that I had that limitation.
I guess because we did collaborate with other people on that one and took our time to build it from so many different places. It's definitely how to do music now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
When did the idea of doing videos to accompany your music come along? Was that always the idea? Was that from the beginning, or did you guys decide, because music video is really a dead art form in many respects. I mean, not on YouTube. YouTube is actually, it's flourishing on YouTube, but
right.
in the MTV days are long gone, the days that you and I remember so fondly. But how was that always part of the plan, or did you guys just stumble upon it and you said, oh, this is cool, we can keep doing this?
We did kind of stumble upon it. And at the same time, we watched music videos together, so it was something that we kind of, it seemed like it should have happened, Yeah. We're actually extremely interested in the possibility in the future of doing something different that involves video in a much bigger way,
I absolutely love music videos. And we wanted to put the music out online. It needed something visually to go along with it that was more interesting, I think, than just somebody with a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And I started making music videos when I was a teenager with one of my cousins, like making a kind of like a mixtape, but it was a mixed video, and spent an entire summer doing that. So I kind of already had an idea that I would want to do some kind of video with it. I didn't know it was going to get as involved as it is.
Right.
I think our ideas keep getting bigger and bigger. And now that we have Photoshop, we could spend even more hours with the videos than we do on the music. But I'm going to try and hold that back because the music is the main focus, really.
Sure.
But yeah, like you said, it's something that we grew up with. And honestly, I miss just being able to like listen to music and watch whatever even if it wasn't the artist's truest interpretation, any kind of visual thing along with the audio makes it, in my opinion, 5 times better. It's just, it gives you something to focus on, and being an artist and being able to express ourselves visually is huge, because we paint anything we can get our hands on. This guitar, there.
I painted that one.
Dip swirl painted. This one I painted here. This one there I painted. We'll paint anything. Being able to have something that goes along with our music, it makes it more accessible, makes it easier to find, and more people are likely to continue to watch. I think if you have something visual rather than if you just had an audio track somebody had to listen to. One of the ideas that I had, and this is it's super loose and I don't know anything about it. I did check into a little bit, but doing shows in a movie theater, because you can, you have this huge screen, and then you could just perform up at the front, and might be kind of cool. It's a different environment. It takes people out of the typical normal musical environment, and that's what we want to do with a lot of our videos too. Is just kind of always put something in that's a little weird and something just different, not the normal way.
Do you guys do live performances as well? Have you guys done some?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I guess our most recent one was about a year ago. We're probably going to do one in October, around the time that we're thinking of doing an EP release. But with the time crunch that we have right now, doing the videos and the music releases, probably not any live performances before that.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent about a year doing gigs. And then we both were in a cover band together and did performances as a cover band.
Party band,
yeah. Chicken and booty.
Yeah, we struggled a little bit with finding regular shows and all. We didn't care about money or anything like that, but it's kind of getting out there and marketing yourself and connecting and networking. Some of that stuff I really stink at. So it wasn't what we wanted it to be, and that's when we decided, let's get a good camera and let's just do videos, because then we don't have to try to recruit people to come to a show at a specific time, and then when it's done, it's over. YouTube is beautiful because it'll be there for hopefully for 100 years. As long as YouTube exists, which hopefully will be a couple days, years, maybe months.
Hopefully. So you're only 3 months into this grand experiment that you guys are putting out there, and it's really amazing. And I want you to talk about it. Doing a video a month, basically releasing a song and having an accompanied video with it and putting it out there for the masses. And we're lucky enough at GoIndieNow to have the opportunity to spread that love and put it out there with you guys. And we're really excited about that as well. But talk about where the concept came from and what it is that you're doing so that people know. And also, I'm kind of curious, how have you guys been received from it?
Yeah, it's we rounded out the year last year with we had a big burst of creative time, and we were able to get a lot of songs like down. Not down completely recorded, because we're winging it the whole rest of the year. There's no guarantees, but I think we'll be fine because I try to plan ahead and I have backups. So in any case, we ended the year last year with enough songs that I said, you know what, we could kind of like stay out in the open, and then we're regularly putting things out, so there's always something interesting, rather than working on 10 or 12 songs and then putting all those out at once and then trying to get people to go back to it. We hope that it'll be a little bit better to kind of always have something. And so what we're doing is every month we're going to release a new song, and that new song is going to be accompanied, when it's released on Spotify, it'll have its own lyric video, and then a week later it'll have the premiere of the official music video. So that way there's two there. And then we're going to do the B-side covers, which is one more video a month. So that's 3 videos a month. And the B-side covers is some of the songs that we sing together in the car, basically. We did Uno already, and the Ray LaMontagne and Barton Hollow. Those are all songs that we basically just sang in the car. And they're less usual songs, at least for the area that we're in. A lot of those songs aren't songs that people are familiar with. So we call it the B-side, because it's the B hits, it's the deeper cuts from the deals. So with all that, we're trying to stay in the general consciousness. And as far as it being received, I think people are really positive about it. You guys have been amazing, and JD Estrada was awesome. And we're just hoping to build on it from here, Is there one in particular that you're really looking forward to putting out there that maybe that hasn't been out there yet, that you can talk about a little bit, maybe? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about all of them if you got time. There's quite a few. I mean, the one that's coming out in July is it's called Simple, and I've actually been writing that song for over 3 years. When we did our EP, it was a song that was supposed to have been on that EP, but it wasn't ready. And little did I know it would take another 3 years. And it's still not done, but it's so close. I mean, we've actually had it mixed more than once. So, it's not totally there, but when we get it, it's good. I'm really, really proud of where it is now. And so that's kind of a country song that has a kind of a finger picking guitar deal, and it's not steel guitar quite that country, but it's got a little country rock feel to it.
Yeah.
And there's another one that in May, I think it is. I think it is. Anyway, Love Somebody is a duet that we did for the Tiny Desk contest 2 years ago. I think so. I think it was 2 years ago.
Somebody,
I'm so tired of being lonely.
Every day I dream and dream, and I get down on my knees. I wanna love somebody, yes, and be loved by somebody. You've not found me. Not found me. Yeah.
That song really kind of blossomed because when we found Fiverr.com, I found people that were able to play instruments that I had no access to musicians that could make. So that one is a really simple duet. It's like mostly vocal. It's almost all vocal. It's a super simple, like forlorn love song, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it has a beautiful piano part in it now. I have a cello and a violin, and I'm really excited about that one. And the video to go along with that one is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really, really proud of that one. That's the one, if I could pick a video that I'm excited about, that's for sure the one. Because what we did was we got face painted, and we had these crazy costumes,
Right.
and we videoed ourselves in front of the green screen. And then we cut all that stuff out, and we put it into a program to make it look like a cartoon.
Mm.
And we took these face paints, which, then it all moves around because it looks like a painting, and then we put it on top of a painting. So there's all it's cool colors. It's visually really interesting. It's really weird because, face paint and this soft, tender song, you wouldn't seemingly go together, but I love the fact that we both actually should say,
Right.
love the fact that it's totally weird and it's totally unusual. And, it doesn't seem like something that would go with that song,
Yeah.
So we're excited about all of it, man. And then the stuff that come later in the year is really good. There's another kind of heavier rock song called Story that we're really tying down some pretty amazing stuff on. And like I said, there's a soul tune that's like it's my Luther Vandross song. If I could pick a Luther, like if I could kind of pretend to be a little bit of Luther, his pinky nail. This called Make It Right is really good. And that's one of the first songs that we wrote with Tony B. And that song fell right into our laps. It's amazing sometimes how they just come together,
What, how about for you, Kim? What one are you really looking forward to being out there?
Well, we're working on one that I'll be singing lead vocals on. I'm pretty excited about that one. Will be coming out in November. I don't even think it has a title yet.
It's called A1.
A1, yeah. Right now is.
We're tying that one down. That's pretty cool tune. That's a real playful, bubbly kind of piano belt kind of deal. It's really cool. I can't wait for. I want to pour everything out all at once.
Right.
This is terrible on me to have to slowly release things because I want to be like, look what we're doing, But it's sometimes it's not ready yet. So.
Right.
Was there a discussion about doing it this way? Did you guys have reservations at first, or did you guys just go for it and say, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, we're going to stick with it?
I think when Ben brought up the idea of having something to release more often, I was on board pretty much right away. Instead of trying to get everything together and then again have just the one big release and then constantly trying to bring people back to the one release, just having people interested, having the subscribers that know something's coming out every month or every week, depending on how often they're checking their feed.
Right.
Your space, the air around you fills a room with the smell of sweet perfume. In my life, nothing but the bluest sky. Simple man, simple man, I just want to live free. You know that I love you back. Do anything for you back. Keep my focus on the life redeem, the future of my dreams.
Turbo Widget.
So what happens at December for you guys? Are you going to take all these songs, put them in an album? Are you going to continue this into 2020? Or are you going to just reevaluate? Are you going to sit back and kind of evaluate how this went and then go forward from there and do something else? What do you think is your immediate focus going forward?
It all depends on, what's going on in December. Who knows? I mean, we could have a spurt where we write 6 or 7 songs, and hey, let's do this again. Honestly, we'll probably stop at December to start with, and then come up with some of the B-side stuff and have maybe another EP. But in October, which is a 3-year anniversary from the First Light EP, our first EP, we're going to be putting out a remix EP. It's really going to be about probably a full-length album because we're remixing all of the original songs and like mixing them again, not just DJ remixing. But the rest of them will be reimagined. So the first one's called First Light. This one's called Second Sight. And we have 2 dubstep versions of those songs. We have one jazz swing version of one of them. We're hoping to get a reggae version of one of them, and there's a piano version of another one. So it's going to be cool. It's kind of a reimagined First Light completely. So it's almost like a whole album that's dedicated to what we did there. Like, look what else we can do. We can take these songs and flip them upside down and put them in a whole different place, and they still work. They still hold up. I feel like
Is there a subject matter that you guys seem to broach more in a song than you don't? Is there one particular one that you always kind of go back to?
Love.
We have more love songs than anything else. Yeah.
It just love and music go together too well.
Right. It's
together, honestly.
Yeah. It's peanut butter and jelly, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Precisely. That's the whole deal.
But they're not all sweet love songs. There's like the forlorn love songs. There's Love Lost, and it's a big subject.
It is.
Yeah. All right. So I want you guys to turn and look at each other, and I want you to tell me your partner's greatest strengths, and when it comes to the music.
I think for Ben, your biggest strength is staying focused on the music and not letting anything take you off your path. Being dedicated, definitely keeping us on task.
Yeah, hers is honesty. I didn't have to think about this when I read it earlier. I said, I know this one. She is so perfectly honest with me, and it's amazing. She knows I may not like what she has to say, and she'll say it anyway, and it's the most valuable thing in the world. It really is. It's the best thing ever. It really is.
When is a song complete? When do you feel like you can let it go?
The neat thing about it is, and what we have to tell ourselves all the time is, we're going to do the best we can with what we have, with the tools we have. We're going to make the best thing that we can in the time period allotted. And having these deadlines, actually, I think come December, we're going to be much better at deciding what to keep and when it's done and when to stop and what to add and when to go, we need to wait a few months on that one. And it seems like the whole process, it's a lot of work, but at the same time, it feels like we're going to get better and better at it each time we do it. So I think deciding will be a lot easier as we get further along, and everybody in the group, not just us, but Tony and Danny, are able to all know what the other one's thinking in terms of what to add and what not to add and what to take away, and what we think. And there's a lot of that mixing up, but I feel like it's going to get better and better every time we do it. So knowing when a song will be, honestly, I can listen to everything that I've ever recorded that I put out, and I can re-record the whole thing. So it's never totally done. A song lives and breathes, and when I'm done with it, it's out there. So it's as close to perfect as I can ever make it. Right? I don't expect perfection. Progress is really all I care about. So every time we put a new song out, hopefully it's a little better than the last one as far as quality goes, the songwriting, and how long people want to listen to it. The amazing thing about things online now is roughly how long people are listening to it, even if it's just an average. So it's trying to extend that listening time out, and see what we can do to make the song more interesting or get to the point better, or those kinds of things. So it's a fun challenge.
So do you have designs to maybe do live performances video wise?
I would like to. Yeah, if I can figure it out. I mean, this is the first live thing that we've ever done, so my fear is the audio quality can sometimes get a little weird.
Yeah.
When you're playing music, then you get this like sound that kind of gets in the way, Yeah. But
overmodulation and what have you.
Right. I've had a lot of ideas about doing live YouTube performances, and I think that would be definitely something we're considering for the future. Once I free myself up at a little bit of the other time.
I know bands hate this question, so I purposely never ask it. So I'm gonna ask it in a different way because to me it's the artist question. Where do your ideas come from? But it's the question I least want to answer usually, and I don't want to ask you the question which is where does the name Turbo Widget come from, and how does that how did you come up with that? I kind of want to know what were some of the names that you rejected that you thought about before Turbo Widget.
There were so many.
Was there one that you still have love for that you're holding on to?
No. I'm committed. I don't know if you can do that.
Oh, nice.
Turbo Widget. No, we're committed to it. Tell them where we got the name from.
The name comes from a Santa Gold song, where she basically sings, "I'll be the widget to your turbo," and it's stuck. It always kind of was a fun little bit to sing, but I think the turbo is like how we're always moving forward. We want to have a lot of energy. We want to do something different. We're always moving.
Right.
The energetic little Energizer Bunny kind of person. And then the widget, to me, kind of signifies, being factory workers and being just another cog in the wheel. That could also be anybody.
Right.
Widgets can mean anything. So it kind of is a play on everybody running to get to the end, and we're all kind of going in the same place, but we all don't really know where we're going, but we're getting there in a hurry kind of society. But if he wants to be the turbo, I'll be the widget.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We occasionally order sandwiches and come up with new names, but rejected names. Honestly, I think I repressed a lot of that from my memory because it was a stressful thing for me. But I was in a cover band called Faking It, and I was in another cover band called Something Fishy.
Yep.
And some how it goes. I had a lot of really bad ones, but thankfully I don't think I wrote those down. And when I was younger, I had a very short stint with a band that was not completely. It wasn't a complete band. It was just a few guys that got together, but they called themselves Mind Against Body. So there's been a lot of names, but when we were thinking of names, and we heard that song because we were listening to that Santa Gold album. And it's a song she does with Karen O of the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. When we heard that, we looked at each other and we're like, Turbo Widget, Turbo Widget. We were like, this is good. We like this. And then it took a long time to sink in. But now that we've put so much time and effort and every energy into that, it means so much more the way it is.
You live up to it too, because Widget is, like you said, a fictional product that can be anything. It can be whatever you create it. So you don't have to be a rock band. You don't have to be a reggae band. You could be your Widget and do everything, right? So
where you fit in.
That's right.
What does every Turbo Widget song have to have?
Harmonies, vocal harmonies.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something special about the human voice when it harmonizes, and if it all works right, you can touch people, I think, the way nothing else really does. So we're always looking for that, something that really connects with people. Mm-hmm. And vocal harmonies seem to be the quickest way to do it.
Yeah, I've always believed that vocal harmonies are some of the least used, best, to me, it sounds better than an organ. It sounds better than most instruments. When it's right, it like sends chills up your spine. And so we're always looking for an emotional center, and harmonies. If I can put harmonies or doubled vocals or something that I can do vocally into it, and we can, add hers and do different stuff. It's that. If totally harmonies. We could do a whole album of a cappella. I'm pretty sure. I want to do weird stuff. When we did a performance for the local magazine called the RFT, the Riverfront Times, and they have a local music showcase where they have, I think it was 150 bands over 2 days in this small part of town. A bunch of bars and restaurants, and we got to play that. And we brought a projector screen and projectors, and we kind of been doing that for most of our shows, is trying to make it a lot more video oriented, and we want to call it the Turbo Widget music video experience.